Why do you like YouTube ads?
YouTube is interesting because it feels like a platform where pretty much every demographic, every age demo, location demo, everyone uses it.
Facebook and, for example, Instagram is all about interruption. It's all about scrolling, and as soon as you're bored, like for a fraction of a second, you just keep scrolling or something. Whereas YouTube, there's really nothing to scroll.
What was going to be the best ad? What was going to define the best ad? Was it going to be, a surprise emotion generally in the first few seconds? Was it going to be like, excitement, something like that? What we found, interestingly, none of us expected this.
Ian, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Sven. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So where are you located at the moment?
I'm actually in Sweden, so Stockholm, Sweden.
Do you live there?
Yeah, live in Sweden. My wife's grandfather's name is actually Sven, also. So fun fact.
Oh, that's cool. Yes, Sven is actually a very Swedish name. It's a Swedish name.
Very Swedish. Yeah.
However, I'm half German, half Korean, so I'm not really Swedish. But my father wanted to be able to call me like a very short name. He likes short names. The other alternative was Max. So you want to say Max or Sven or something like that. So yeah, for me, I didn't like the name in the beginning, but by now I've gotten used to it. And your name is quite like, it sounds a bit Hungarian. Do you have a Hungarian origin?
Yeah. So my first name's Ian, is Scottish apparently, and then my last name is, so I grew up in the U.S., but my dad's family is from Hungary, and so it's the most common name in Hungary. They say it Nagy, and I speak a little bit of Hungarian, but it's my pronunciation for anyone who actually speaks it. It's probably way off.
Yeah,
but yeah, it means great. Yeah,
that's nice.
It means great, but it basically, there's a time in history where everyone got to choose their own name in Hungary. And so a lot of people picked that name because they wanted to be great. So
let's make our name great again.
Exactly. Yes.
That's cool. I didn't know that someone could pick their name. That's pretty. Probably I would have chosen a different last name. But yeah, Platte. Platte is a German name. Just means like basically flat. So my last name is Flat. So yeah,
stable, man. That's stability right there. You gotta think of that.
That's the right angle to think of. Have you considered living in Hungary?
I love Hungary. I mean, as a place, I visited a fair bit over the past few years, especially. So I'm a Hungarian citizen also, and it's beautiful. People are super friendly. The landscapes are amazing. Food is amazing. And yeah, Budapest is one of many amazing cities in Hungary, but it's obviously the one that is, most of us have seen if we've been there. Yeah, I mean, I love going there. So yeah, it's a great spot.
Cool. So you are a YouTube expert. Why do you like YouTube ads?
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is interesting because it feels like a platform where pretty much every demographic, every age demo, location demo, everyone uses it. So whether you're looking for things to be entertained or to instruct, YouTube is kind of our one-stop knowledge repository, entertainment repository for modern culture. So yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, and, video as a media is, until we really crack the code on the metaverse, it's really the most immersive and most, there's a multi-sensory situation. So, it's always been fascinating, and just the scale of YouTube in particular for all that is wild. I think last time I looked, it was like 600 hours a minute are uploaded to YouTube. 600 hours of new content are uploaded every minute. So there's just all these new crazy niches happening, and so much going on there. It's wild. So yeah, it's a fascinating environment, and yeah, we love making YouTube ads and helping companies scale with YouTube. And we're so nerdy about YouTube that we actually built a YouTube ad library called VidTal that I think we have like almost 1 million ads that we track in there. It's free. You go in and search for your ads. And it's just cool to see how people approach it and what works. It's always surprising too. So yeah, just really enjoy it.
Okay, how do you see YouTube advertising versus the other platforms, Facebook and Google?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, so Facebook is really, I would say, you got to think of the context. It's it's an interruptive ad platform, right? We're kind of there. A lot of times we're not really there with any specific intention. We're just scrolling, checking what our friends are doing, people we look up to, etc. Then boom, there's an ad. And then we click on it out of curiosity. And, we go through that experience. Whereas YouTube, people typically go there to, like I said before, either be entertained or to learn something. So education and entertainment, and it's a much more immersive environment. We usually go in there, we see a video on we look for it, or it's on the sidebar, we click it, we sit there with an intention to actually pay attention for, a minute, an hour, whatever the case may be. And then boom, in that sort of immersive moment, up comes an in-stream ad. So that's what's interesting too about the platform, is that basically if you're able to tap into that sort of very intention-oriented mindset, there's a lot more, I'd say, value in the kind of people that you can attract off of YouTube versus some other platforms. Consequently, it's also more expensive traffic. So, it's just like anything else, supply and demand. But yeah, that's definitely one big difference on the content, on the platform side.
And this more immersive experience watching YouTube, is it for you like the foundation or the reason why one might be more successful doing advertising there?
Yeah, I think, to give you a sort of the spectrum of ads that can work really well on YouTube. Sometimes it'll be, we're talking here, I think, more in the performance marketing context, where we're looking to identify specific ads, campaigns, et cetera, that drive specific actions. So, very trackable, not really branding as much, which is a totally other topic that's super powerful and interesting. We're actually doing some stuff in that space now around really, omni-channel attribution with media mix modeling and stuff like that. But specific to, what ads work in this sort of immersive environment, you can really tell the full story of a product with a good video. So we'll have, if anyone's running, I know Digi's got a lot of offers running with video sales letters, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of format for advertising can work extremely well on YouTube. And in fact, we'll run slightly modified hour-long video sales letters as in-stream ads, meaning you've probably seen it. I'll go there to watch, my favorite Justin Bieber video, right? And then I see an hour-long video sales letter pop up. I'll watch it, I'll click, and I'll buy. Same session that happens at scale. So you can tell a long story, you can tell a short story, stuff that's very easy to understand with a very clear value proposition. Things like really interesting physical products, etc. Maybe you need 2 minutes to sell it, but you're still making a complete sales argument in that 2 minutes, and then people are clicking and buying. So yeah, you can really get people on board with what it is that you're trying to communicate very easily because of this immersive environment, because people in some respects have blinders. Because if you can capture their attention effectively in the first 5-10 seconds, and then, cultivate that attention over the rest of the video, then people really focus. It's surprising. And they will buy just off those single videos.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, because if I think about it, like Facebook and, for example, Instagram is all about interruption. Like it's all about scrolling, and you're like in a natural inclination to, you're inclined to scroll and to, as soon as you're bored, like for a fraction of a second, you just keep, scrolling or something. Whereas YouTube, there's really nothing to scroll. Like you would have to type in the search bar, like a new word or something that you're interested in, and then look at the results. And then, it's the scrolling is just like before you watch the video. And, and yeah, and if the ad captures your attention as a viewer, then you might forget about the video you wanted to see, you wanted to watch. You just look at the ad. It's very cool. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, what kind of products do you think are more inclined to have success with YouTube? Do you think there's like specific ones? Of course, we talk of obviously the long form sales letter ones that otherwise would be like on a web page with a long form sales letter. These are usually, information product, like little things that you would sell. But do you see like for what kind of products it would make sense and for what it wouldn't make sense to advertise on YouTube? Or is it like a great thing for each and every product type?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good question. I think I'll speak from our experience. So at our agency, we managed over $150 million on YouTube advertising, and mostly for products on the front end price point of around $100, so like $50 to $100, sometimes lower, and sometimes higher. But kind of if you were to look at like a graph, like a distribution graph, that would be kind of where everything's concentrated. So price point, I would say, side note on that, there's a significant amount also with the sort of high ticket call funnel type stuff. We've done that to a lesser degree. That can work really well on YouTube. I think some other people have a lot more experience with that than us, but still firsthand, I've seen it can work really well. So we're talking about selling people on a sales call to get on a sales call, and then they buy like a $5,000 thing, coaching program, whatever. But yeah, for us, e-commerce, something that's interesting and unique, where again, the value proposition is very clear and work very well on YouTube. Software can work extremely well on YouTube. If it solves a specific problem and you can demonstrate the problem, that's probably by volume, probably our biggest niche. And then definitely, anything that, health products, beauty products, amazing on YouTube. Skin creams, cosmetics, different kinds of beauty, enhancers, so to speak. So if you can demonstrate the value visually very easily, then it can be sold on YouTube. And if you can't, then you might need a longer sort of, marketing argument, so to speak, like you would see with the 45-minute VSL.
Yeah, it's amazing that they allow it. It's the same company. It's Google. Google owns YouTube. Google doesn't like long form sales letter web pages. They blog ads to those things, but they allow it in their YouTube advertising system. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, they charge. It's interesting too. Side note is, you just got to think of the opportunity cost for Google. If someone's watching a 45-minute sales letter, think of how many ads they would have typically seen over the course of a 45-minute YouTube session where they're watching, 50 videos. So you do pay a premium for that kind of length of video, but under around 3 minutes, you're not really, it's kind of all things are sort of equal. But it is interesting how that is. I mean, they just want us to spend money on there, without too many complaints from viewers and without affecting the viewers' session or satisfaction with the platform to a degree that makes them not come back. So that's what they're always trying to balance.
I see. If I wanted to start advertising on YouTube, and if I had to do it myself instead of using an agency or, for example, your agency, what are the steps? How can I get started from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, so I would say that. So in this hypothetical situation, do you have? Are you already running ads on another platform, or are you just starting from scratch entirely?
I would say like I mean, my company, Digistore24, we have run ads on YouTube as well before. But if let's just assume someone is just getting started, how would they start the best? And if they would choose like YouTube as their first sales and advertising channel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so the first thing really is, understanding your business metrics. What can you comfortably afford to spend to acquire a customer?
Mm-hmm.
What are you typically making on the back end of that customer? Let's say day 30, day 60, and all that. So getting clear on your business metrics first and foremost, so that like spending $500, $1,000. How are you looking? Are you 20% over where you want to be, or are you like 200% over where you want to be, or are you under? That's the first step. The second step is really, before you innovate, emulate. So I think I didn't make that up. I think I heard that from Ryan Levesque somewhere. Basically, so look and see what other people are doing in your space. And so I would obviously look on YouTube. So there are many research tools out there. Obviously, we have our own free one, BidTile, but AdBeat is a really good one as well. They're SimilarWeb, all these things. So you can see what other ads your competitors are running, and you can see like which ones performed versus which ones didn't perform by volume. Basically, the views are a proxy for ad spend on these videos because they're typically unlisted videos, not publicly listed videos of your ads. So see what your competitors are doing, and then start breaking them down. So what we like to do is on YouTube, you can download a timestamp transcript of a video. So there's a little, I think in the lower right corner, there's a little like dialog box. And you can basically click on it, and you'll get a timestamp with the transcript showing up right there. And you can just copy and paste it, and then dump it into a spreadsheet, and then look and see each frame for these really good videos that are performing well. What are they trying? What's their intention with this frame? What are they trying to do here? And you'll notice there's a couple really big areas you need to focus on for YouTube specifically, which is the first 10 seconds. And the call to action, sort of end of the video. First 10 seconds is by far the most important, because what happens is at 10 seconds, if someone's watching your video, what happens is Google labels that an engagement. So if someone watches your video past 10 seconds, or if at any point they actually click on the video to go to the next page, it's an engagement. And the higher, with more engagements, more higher engagement rate, you'll pay less. Your cost per traffic, your CPMs are going to go down. We've actually seen this. We had this one campaign we were running for, I think it was like 2 months, with 0 changes. It was exactly the same budget. Nothing changed this whole time. And so it was a unique experiment. And we could see very clearly that as our engagement rate went up, the cost of traffic went down. It was like a direct relationship. It was literally like mirrored each other. We see this time and time again. So getting people to stay past that first 10 seconds is crucial. So seeing what people are doing there, and then emulating that for your own hooks and that sort of thing. And then the last part of the video, the call to action, just having a compelling reason to click through and go to the next step in the funnel. So hammering on, this is this week only, or through this video, there's a special offer through this video, whatever the case may be. That's super important. So yeah, research, see how people are approaching this, and then start to model some of these findings that you discover for your own ads. And then you don't have to get, once you have that knowledge, you don't have to go crazy and get hire someone with a red camera, like a $100,000 camera. Where's my phone? Our iPhones or smartphones these days are amazing, and you can do a lot with these things. So, and you'll see a lot of people leveraging that on ads where they're spending $2-3 million on a single ad. So don't underestimate that. It's really about, the messaging, um, and how you connect with the needs that your audience has. And to that, that's something that's super important. And we're like, historically, there's been all these ways that people have done that, tested these things. And I remember, I think some contemporary of David Ogilvy, my business partner was reading this book he was telling me about. It's Truth in Advertising. I haven't read it yet, but it's supposedly really good. So basically, what they would do is, they would, in Times Square, these big companies, marketing agencies, this is back in like the 40s. So Times Square, New York City, middle of New York City, they would have hire a theater, like an actual like play theater. And then they would pull people off the street and get them to watch basically the messaging acted out for a proposed commercial. And then after they watched that, they would ask them, hey, what do you remember about this? And then, so they would kind of assess whether or not what they were trying to communicate was actually communicated to the prospective audience. And so that allowed them to, if people aren't understanding what it is that you're trying to say, first and foremost, and you're not really, whether or not your performance, follows is not really because you're actually testing the marketing message, just because, it wasn't communicated properly, communicated effectively. So that's kind of a pre-step before actually, testing. So, to that end, we're actually experimenting with some tools in that space. But like for our prospective first-time YouTube advertiser here, when you come up with these ads, run it by your friends, like run it by people who who are in the space who might be interested, and see what kind of qualitative feedback you get on your ads, that you shot with an iPhone. Get that concept up, iteratively, build off that, of course, but you can just shoot the most minimum viable product ad, test the messaging. And you'll see if you look in VidTal, there's actually, this company called Sales Mentor, and it's Taylor Welch and Chris Evans are these guys, I think the owners. But they basically, the way that they test ads is really interesting. Is they'll shoot like a voiceover with a text only PowerPoint. They'll shoot that and they'll test that as an ad. And then when they'll test variations in that format, and whatever wins from that, they'll go and level up and shoot an actual live video. Same exact scripts. You can see this. You'll see in the timeline too, like first draft ad, PowerPoint, spending. They're spending like 100K on it. And then all of a sudden they stop spending. But at the same time, they launched the sort of version 2 of that ad that they end up spending, multiple millions of dollars on. So it's super, super interesting. And don't be afraid as a new advertiser of a video. You can start super, super simply. Every month that goes by, there are more and more tools that make it even easier for folks to actually launch their videos.
Thank you. This is very interesting because, do you think that, so we're talking about production complexity, right? Like, so the ads that they would like have as like a successor of the text ad video ads, they're like actually like produced. There's people, maybe actors, and saying stuff. Did I understand that correct? And can you say that, is that always converting better versus the pure text sales letter thing?
I mean, we don't,
the predecessor.
Yeah. I mean, the way that most of our clients, they want things to be presented in a certain way as sort of a baseline. We don't typically operate with the PowerPoint style, as like our starting point, but I'll say, so to answer the question more broadly, no. When you increase the production value, it does not always increase conversions. In fact, sometimes it hurts conversions, all things being equal.
Yeah.
So sometimes the sort of low budget stuff, we have actually one client who's done really well, who sells like some survival stuff, and we'll have him shoot like videos in the trunk of his car and just kind of rummaging through stuff. And it's very shaky. And, it's clearly shot on someone holding an iPhone with one hand and then kind of, doing the thing with the other hand. And that same script, that same video, but professionally done, doesn't work nearly as well. So, it's one of these things. It's, if you have a winning ad with one format, it can be really interesting to run a test where you change the format, keep everything else the same. Because you never know what's going to resonate or who it's going to resonate with.
That's interesting. Why do you think that like these more low production value videos perform better than the high end videos? What do you personally think? Is that the case? And is it always the case?
No, it's never. It's not. It's not always the case. In fact, it depends on the context. So you can just imagine, like, if you're going to go get brain surgery, if you're looking at YouTube ads for your next brain surgeon or whatever the case may be, you would want the format to kind of match your expectations of what the values that a brain surgeon would have, which would be like meticulous attention to detail and clean and like just super, very obviously high tech, etc. So, but if it's more of like let's say it's like a coaching thing, or it's it's a simple product, then a lot of times, showing someone actually using it and just talking enthusiastically about it can be super interesting. Like, it doesn't have to be high quality at all. So it's the authenticity that shines through, and it just dwarfs the format. In fact, the format aids that messaging. So like, we have one client who sells, they do, I don't know if this is okay to say on your show, but basically it's a vaginal suppository. And it basically
what's a vaginal suppository? Like, what's a suppository?
So
it's a pill.
It's a pill that women will put in their vagina to like make it healthier, basically. And as a consequence of
that's cool.
Being healthier, sort of balancing the pH and bacteria, they feel more confident about how they smell and just feeling cleaner. And so women just love this. It's called V-Fresh, actually. Check it out.
V-Fresh?
V-Fresh.
Oh,
yeah,
nice. Do you know V-Shred? That reminds me of V-Shred.
Yeah, exactly. Not the same company, but maybe they could do some cross-promotion,
In his case, it's V for Vince, not for vagina.
Exactly. Yeah, and side note on that, I mean, those guys at V-Shred, they are amazing at split testing everything, and just definitely follow what they do and use that to inform your own split tests. So they're on it. But yeah, so point is for V-Fresh, best ads are always women just spontaneously talking about how it changed their life. And you just capture that emotion, and you also capture the sort of the story inherent, which is, they had this deep insecurity, whether it was valid or not, that something was wrong with them, and then by this product changed that for them. And now they have this, like, they're able to fully just exist as they are with no shame, And so that emotion is not, you're not going to be able to capture that with with an actor. That's just, right.
Oh yeah. That's so authentic. I think women can, they can be very self-conscious about, for example, if they smell really intense down there. I think that can be a problem. They might not, be comfortable with oral sex, let's say passive oral sex anymore and whatnot. I think that's a very big issue. And I mean, as a guy, you also kind of, that like different women smell differently and stuff.
Yes, for sure.
I don't know how to say it.
Absolutely.
In a nice way, but I think it's a real life problem. And I totally see a market there. And I just find the product very creative and very like, someone really thought about a problem and how to solve it. And so does it really work?
Yeah.
Is it like,
I mean, you should see the unsolicited feedback they get on this product is ridiculous. And the company it's a part, I think they're married, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend team. And the wife actually created it. So she created it for herself first and foremost. And so it has, again, coming back to what works and what doesn't work. Anytime you can have a story incorporated, like a sort of creation story, you'll see this all the time with video sales letters, or even like you'll see this in these e-commerce ads that are like AI voiceovers on YouTube, where it's like, this dental tool was created by a dentist who was tired of the industry ripping off his, innocent patients. There's this whole like,
Yeah.
industry insider revealing the, the shady dealings and saving the little guy, kind of humble hero journey type thing. So anytime you can incorporate that story, and even better if it's a real story, it's people really relate to that. And I think stories can be told really well with these ads on YouTube. And so that's another sort of story taps into.
Oh, yeah.
We've been telling stories around the campfire for as long as humans have been able to talk, and probably even before that, we were making some crazy sign language. So we have that need to kind of relate via story.
Yeah, totally. I think videos are the best storytelling tool ever. So I also advertise this podcast through videos on YouTube. We do YouTube ads for these things. It kind of makes sense, and if someone wants to check it out, it's really cool. Yeah. We have a software company. I run a software company, and do you think that I can also like be successful with software, which you mentioned before, because I cannot really showcase, like companies that have computers, iPhones, you name it, perfumes that you could showcase. I don't have physical things that look nice on pictures or on videos. How can I, as a software, as a service company, create an ad that really works?
It's great. It's a great question. I think it comes down to really creating what we like to call an ownership experience. So showing people how your software solves a problem that they have, and showing them just how like easy it is. You have this comparison of kind of before and after. You look at these, you've seen ClickUp and Monday and all these, these project management tools. Sometimes they'll show these before and after. Like, I was trying to project manage on a Google Sheet, and it was a pain. And now I'm here. It's almost like fun to project manage, because you're dragging these little things around. There's these little sounds, So, I mean, that's a key thing. What is the software do specifically?
Digistore 24. We are a online retailer.
Yes.
Or
I'm very familiar. Yeah, I know. So yes, absolutely. So, okay. So walk me through right now. What's the first touch point how are you acquiring, like with paid ads? How are you acquiring new users to Digistore?
Honestly, we don't acquire new users to Digistore with paid ads. We have another software that's called Coa Channel. It basically is a mixture of a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, editor for landing pages. So you can make sales pages, whole websites, any type of landing page. You can modify it. You can add and change text and videos and pictures and whatnot. And you have a membership tool, a membership area. Basically, I kind of wanted to replace WordPress. Yeah, I wanted to replace WordPress with all the, like for these specific functions. Of course, WordPress is a tool that has all kinds of possible, plugins and, software that runs on it. But for this specific use, for landing pages, sales pages, and membership areas, I wanted to have a WordPress alternative, because so many people are using WordPress, but it's not very secure. And to me, software security matters a lot. And, I wanted to have less bugs, and all have all these issues. Like we, as Digistore 24, we know that, there is customers who have issues with like plugins, kind of fighting each other and, creating bugs with each other, because of course no plugin programmer has other plugins in mind, so you really need to test which ones are compatible. And I just wanted to put an end to that mess, at least for people who need landing pages, sales pages, and membership areas. That's what we did. It also has like a smartphone app, so that end users can consume video courses offline, even when they're in a plane or something. But usually, like, this is what we would advertise, because Digistore 24 is like, is too complex for like end consumers to on board. So they would need a certain level of, skills about online marketing and being able to create websites and have a certain level of marketing knowledge. So we never did real advertising for that, except for, hey, we're targeting those types of people, those types of entrepreneurs who run, who sell stuff online. We target them and we showcase features, new features that we have. For example, here a new business cockpit, and business cockpit basically tells you all kinds of KPIs, marketing KPIs for your campaigns and for your revenue, and so that you can have some insight into your marketing data, these kinds of things. But it was more specific to more skilled users, more advanced users. Whereas this tool, Core Channel, for landing pages and memberships, this is someone who just wants to get started can already work with it and understand it. And of course, it's kind of connected to Digistore when it comes to the payment and affiliate network.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, so you could take a couple approaches there. I mean, one approach that's really strong is, let's say you mentioned that it's for people who are just getting started. So let's say you have 5 people who have used Core Channel. That's the name?
Yeah.
So let's say you have 5 people who've used Core Channel and made their first 1,000 euros online. And then you just have them talking about, you could stack very short clips of them talking about it. Core Channel helped me, launch my online business. And it's boom, one, boom, the other, boom, the other. So you have the first, say, 7 seconds, a few people talking about it. People are going to go, what's Core Channel? And what does it have to do with online business? And then you kind of get into explaining it a little bit. At that point, you could have beautiful screenshots of the software and just showing how easy it is to drag and drop and build everything, how it handles everything for you. And then, emphasize the potential security risks of WordPress sites. If you have these little pop-ups, your site's been hacked again, boom, 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 boom. And just kind of twist the knife on the fear a little bit there, and get people to recognize that they're going to be more secure with Core Channel. And then having an amazing offer, hey, try it for free for 30 days. And we even have this amazing onboarding course that's going to help you select your first business and actually get it off the ground. We're not just going to hand you the software and you're going to be sitting there trying to figure out what to do next. We're actually going to hold you by the hand, all these different things that it makes it an obvious choice. So that's one approach. Other approach could be more problem focused, where let's say targeting people who have already tried, and then, maybe have had issues with security or with plugins, making the design just all messed up and weird. And then you just lead with that. Maybe it's someone screenshot of someone's face while they're also on screen trying to drag the, some annoying text thing. They can't get it in the right place. Frustration. And then transition to someone using Core Channel and just, so easy and smooth. And, oh, by the way, it's helping me make this money, blah, blah, blah. Same format as any other, marketing media, but it's just, it's just with video, and getting attention is key. Because if you don't have that attention, no one's going to watch 30 seconds in or whatever. You have to kind of incrementally, build that interest right out of the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. These first 10 seconds that you mentioned for getting the attention. Some people even talk about 3 seconds when it comes, for example, to TikTok ads. Do you have an idea, or is it just instinctive? Do you have tips on how to make the first 10 seconds as great as possible?
Yeah. So, and I'll drill down a little bit further, which is, as you know, the first 5 seconds, you're forced to watch it. So that's sort of your first hurdle, is getting people to not skip right away. Right. So that's even 10 seconds is super important. The 5 seconds is even critical. So again, see what other people are doing, and not just in your market. Look at other ads that have a lot of volume and just see how they're approaching it. That testimonial mashup I just mentioned, that's something that there's a weight loss app called Noom. It's a big, big company. I forget. I think they have I want to say they're a unicorn. They're over $1 billion in revenue, per year. if I'm not mistaken. And they tested a lot of ads. They've done a lot on YouTube. Some of their best ads, they use this technique. They mash up testimonial into like 7 seconds, first 7 seconds. So you're left, they go, I lost 90 pounds on Noom, which is, insane. I lost 93 pounds on Noom. I lost, 100 pounds on Noom. And you're like, whoa, is this even like real? What is this? So you kind of, even if you're just tangentially interested in weight loss, you're going to stick around and learn more. So you can apply that to anything. You can apply that same approach to, selling. I was going to say selling fidget spinners, but you probably couldn't do that. But if you just, spend a little bit of time brainstorming, you can apply that same format to your own ads. Another one is just, let's see, what else? Other formulas. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any formulas off the top of my head, but always just see what other people are doing, other companies are doing, and then just think about, like, how can I apply this in my market? And don't be limited to your own space. In fact, make it a point to go outside of your space and look in entirely different areas. And that's going to give you fresh ideas that are going to hit different in your space because no one's seen it done like that before.
That's very cool. Thank you. Yeah. I think it's really about the hook point in the beginning, and whatever the hook point for your target audience is. I mean, I've seen really quote stupid stuff like, people burning books.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this book is so hot,
Yeah. Yeah, that can be good
things
too.
like that. But yeah, I think it just has to be like really capturing the attention and like really hooking the viewer in so that he or she wants to stay, because they're interrupted. Basically, like from a psychological standpoint, it has to be kind of like in my opinion, at least, a pattern interruption.
Yes.
So people are in that kind of mode. If you were an hypnotist, you would say everyone is in a trance and you just want to kind of change the trance a little bit. So whatever someone is focused on, you want to change it and focus it to something else. And if you want to do that, this is the quote pattern interrupt. And then you have to do it in order to interrupt someone's pattern. For example, he or she's in the mode of, just click away the advertising to watch the video behind. And if you want to stop that click, you need to do something outrageous. That's why people, for example, burn books. It's like, hey, why is this guy burning a book? Like, huh? And then people start to watch it. I think, yeah. And I think it's very important to say that, or to repeat that these first seconds are the most important.
Yeah.
Because they are going to determine everything else. I know, I remember a lot of ads from V-Shred, but he kind of lost me later down the road because he never got to a point.
Yeah.
And it was so hard. Like, he would be talking about test levels, testosterone levels.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you avoid this mistake, then you will optimize your test level. Yeah, but no matter how long you watch, then this one little mistake was never resolved, like, ever.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
He was just talking around it, I got mad.
Yeah, I mean, those guys especially, guaranteed they probably, that was probably intentional, to kind of lead people along like that in that way, and then only really deliver the payoff when you actually buy the product. So, yeah, but it's super important. The intros are super important. In fact, when we find a winning ad, that is the first thing that we're testing to avoid ad fatigue, because over time, the performance is going to get worse in a lot of cases. And just adding a new intro on a good ad, you get many, many variations. We've had instances where we're spending like $50K a day on an ad, same ad, basically same basic ad, and then just putting new intros on it for months and maintaining those results. That's an outlier, but that's kind of the general approach is, you find a winning ad. I would say 80% of our efforts in testing are going towards, when you have a winner, maintaining that winner, and trying to maybe incrementally improve it. The 20% is oriented towards like moonshots, which are, we'll have, maybe have a basic voiceover and screenshot, super basic production value control ad, we'll go out and shoot like a comedic direct response ad with actors and just have an entirely different look. And sometimes, that can really move the needle. It just depends. So yeah, I'd say that's the sort of, like testing approach in terms of, just keeping things going and continuing to avoid ad fatigue over time.
Thank you. Do you have any other like interesting success story or case that you could share, like very successful case of someone, a company doing advertising very successfully, other than the vagina thing?
Yeah, I mean,
I like that word.
Vagina, yeah. What is it in German, by the way? How do you say?
Vagina.
Oh, wow. Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Quite similar.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, what can I point to recently? Yeah, so we have some, what's interesting is, I would say the last year has been interesting in that I think we've figured out, a bit how to really sell e-commerce on YouTube. Before it's always a challenge. Nothing is easy, but, there's one secret to it, which is have an amazing product. And then show it very, just be very upfront about the value in the product. Just don't beat around the bush. And we will test, in terms of the intros, we've seen that really leading with the offer being very straightforward is actually can often be the best way to approach it versus like trying to tease and everything. So, don't be afraid to just say, hey, this is the price point. This is what it does. And here's why, here's a more elaborate, explanation of what it is and why you should use it. And then reemphasizing that amazing offer. To give you an example that I think people can take as a take home. So we had one offer. I think we spent like $8 million on ads on this offer. And, it was all the exact same ad except for the first 15 to 30 seconds. And so we wanted to know like what drives success for these ads. So we did this thing where, are you familiar with micro expressions? So it's like when we exist, like our face gives away our emotions. There are these micro movements of our facial muscles. And there's a guy named Paul Ekman who's he's a psychologist, and he's basically very, very established in the sort of scientific psychology community. Like police use his work and stuff like that. But basically he's documented all the different movements and established like a way of quantifying our emotion based on our facial movements. And so we actually did this thing where we did a facial, like an emotional recognition analysis of cohorts of people watching these videos. So this $8 million in spend. And so we have arousal, depression, like, and then like, what is it? Positive, negative. So there's like these four axes. And we thought our hypothesis was, the best ad is going to be best ad as defined by what we spent the most on because the CPA was the best. So, what was going to be the best ad? What was going to define the best ad? Was it going to be, a surprise emotion generally in the first few seconds? Was it going to be like, excitement, something like that? What we found, interestingly, none of us expected this, but, it was the ad that actually had the least by far emotional impact of any of the ads because it led with the price and it led with the offer right away. So people were very clear. Oh, this is an ad. So like they're in that mindset, like, there's something to buy. I'm interested in it. And so on some level, I'm going to keep watching it. It's not wasting my time. Obviously this format might not work in every situation. In fact, if you tried to sell like a detox supplement or something like that, it probably wouldn't work at all. But, yeah, so that was interesting. That was kind of the emotional signature of the best performing ads in that case. So test those intros and don't be afraid to lead with the offer.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to figure out like when does it make sense to lead with the offer? Probably if people already have like kind of like a notion about the price point, that would make sense. And if you can like make it cheaper or more expensive? And probably if you can make it cheaper, then people believe. Like if I would say, hey, I have this great source for getting amazing luxury cars from Dubai, and I can give them to you like at 50% off because like I have a special source for getting them. Then people might be drawn to the price point in the beginning versus a supplement.
Yeah. It's like the price is a
they have like a preconceived notion.
Yeah, for sure. You're not having to, it's clear, like, okay, yeah, that's a reasonable price for this result that it's very obvious that I'm going to get because you're showing it to me. Like same thing with exercise equipment, it's, this thing gives you a 6-pack and it's for today only, you can get it for $30 and that's 50% off the normal price. It's like, okay, if I want to, if I'm interested in some equipment for my abs, then maybe it makes sense to buy it. It's like very straightforward. The product is the marketing, really. That's what it comes down to versus like, for like a supplement or something like that, where you have to, you're not going to see results right away. You have to really believe in the mechanism behind it and all these things. It just takes a lot longer to establish that kind of chain of beliefs to get people to consider how they might benefit by taking the product.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to to choose wisely whether you want to talk about the price or not. But I think it's good to test it, and maybe it even works in situations you wouldn't expect it to work. It's pretty interesting. Have you had any clients that were able to scale, for example, social media profiles through YouTube ads? Has anyone tried that or wanted to do it?
That's a good point. A good question. No, I don't have any experience with that. I know there's a couple. I know there's a guy. Adam Linkenauer, I think his name is. You look him up on Facebook. He does a lot of YouTube organic stuff, and then Amplify is a British company that does some stuff in that space as well, more around the organic side, like building up channels, that sort of thing. And I've heard of other people doing like discovery ads to build up channel subscribers, but no, we don't really. We usually are just looking for, dollars in, dollars out type of scenarios. But all that is extremely interesting, and I think that as a side note on that, a YouTube channel is having a YouTube channel is an amazing sort of asset, like an email list is, because every time you push something out to those people, it's like showing up with pole position in their feed on YouTube. They're probably getting alerts in their email, and you can advertise to these folks as well. So this is another sort of like fun thing to do. If you're doing like a JV promo or anything where you want to interface with a bunch of other people who have audiences, you can get access as an admin or brand manager on your YouTube channel. You can give access to ad accounts. And then so you can advertise, let's say I paid money to advertise to your audience through your YouTube channel where you're talking about my product, and I would use your affiliate link. So it's like my dollars. You're making money out when people buy because it's your affiliate link to your audience, which is completely fair. But it's like, low risk to you, great opportunity for me. It's a massive win. So we've done very big, like product launches in that way using Facebook, but also YouTube. Like dark posting is what they call it, I think. But that's super powerful. So don't underestimate the power of having this audience, the YouTube audience.
That's actually, I'm kind of like the CEO of my company, so I'm like still kind of leading it, even though I don't have that formal position anymore. But like, it was a very hard decision for me whether to start the podcast, which is basically a YouTube channel, and it's also distributed on iTunes, etc., and Spotify. So, but I really saw the value. We're at the moment we're in kind of like an economic crisis worldwide. inflation and wars and crazy stuff. I think the like the true wealth and let's say yours insurance is really eyeballs. It's attention on the internet. And so I think it's super valuable to have a YouTube channel and to do this work. And I mean, it takes forever to build that nowadays, to be honest. Like, you know, to get to my first like 1,000 subscribers took like a year or so easily.
Yeah.
So that's not much. And especially it's silly for a big company. I mean, just imagine we have like almost 2 million user accounts at
Wow.
VGStore24.
That's amazing.
2 million.
Amazing.
And the YouTube channel has what, 1,000 people or 1,000 something people. It's a joke, but you know, it's just a very, very slow curve if you do it organically. And then at some point there will be, of course, if it's interesting, there will be like a turning point, and then exponential curves go like this. Like they you know, the ascension is very slow. So yeah, but I still think it's very valuable for the reason that you said. It's like an email list. You can reach people directly, and you can also have a relationship with them. Like if someone likes to be in touch with you, and you cannot meet them because you live in different parts of the world and everyone's really busy, but if you want to kind of stay in touch, then here's a touch point. Like let's say you're a public speaker or something, you're invited to, for example, TEDx or to a new audience. You can funnel them then into your YouTube channel, and that's less quote spammy than saying, hey, join my email list or something if you want to get updates. This is like, you know, it's a little bit more like friendly and non-spammy, if I may, for lack of a better word.
For sure.
So I think it's really nice to have that, but it's a huge investment. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of preparation. You know, every conversation has to be really well prepared, and, you know, production and team, and like, so sometimes I thought to myself, like, am I crazy? I have to run this billion-dollar company, and now I'm like, you know, trying to make cool YouTube videos. Like, isn't that weird? But no, I think, you know, sometimes I have this, you know, inner conflict, you know, this dichotomy where it's like, does it really make sense? But yes, I think it does make sense. I think it's good. And it has, for example, helped a lot with, mostly with, recruiting. Like people who are interested in working with a company, and they want to get to know us and how we think, how we are.
Right.
They all watched that.
Yeah.
Some episodes of that podcast. Even business people who wanted to, you know, whom I got introduced to by someone else, they watched a few episodes of the podcast in order to get an idea of what kind of guy I am and what I'm about, how it feels with me, kind of like. So that's a very interesting effect.
Yeah.
Not just the view counts.
Yeah, it is super interesting. And like to be a nerd for a second, you know, when you have someone go check out your YouTube video and they watch the video, that's also an audience you can follow up with as well. So with that, you can follow up. Those are also audiences. And, yeah, I mean, it is interesting, you know, like nowadays there's all this talk about attention span, decay and all this. Interestingly, so I did a bit of digging on this, and it's actually, you know, if you're this goldfish attention span thing where people have, so apparently this is like an example of an urban myth that was perpetuated online because it got picked up by Microsoft on some weird blog, and then it got pushed onto CNN and all these different places. Point is, there's actually no science, at least that they say, behind this attention span myth that human attention span is decreasing. In fact, when they look at global IQ scores over the past, let's say 75 years, our IQ has gone up like very, very interestingly. And they've dug a little bit deeper, and they found that it's because we're performing better and better on these visual processing tasks. It's part of the IQ test, where it measures how fast and effectively we can process visual information. And the reason is, hypothesis is, at least, The reason is because, compare what your life is now, like how much visual information you process on a daily basis versus, 50 years ago, or even before TV. Imagine that. Imagine what it was like to be a peasant in Italy in 1502 or whatever it was, and see the Mona Lisa, see like a photorealistic image painted on paper. When you have no books, you probably don't even know how to read. You don't even have books in your house. You're like, and your visual input is literally reality around you. And then you see an image. Whoa, right? Compare that to now. There's no, like, we're not seeing the same reality that we were then. It's all, how we process is so different. So basically the hypothesis is, we've built visual processing supercomputers by being exposed to more and more media, watching more movies. TV comes out, and now we have, smartphones, social media, 4+ hours a day. Our brains are just like world class at this particular skill set now. So we need like faster cuts. We need faster transitions. Otherwise we get bored. If you look at a movie from like 1945 versus a movie from today, it's like, you can't even, it's not the same medium, really. It's like a totally different thing. And they've actually done analysis on this where they've looked to see like how long the shot lengths are in videos from like 1950 to today. And it's just massively smaller, right? So, pro tip, right, for all of us advertisers is respect that. Respect the fact that, people don't want to be bored. And so rapid, quick cuts, making things tight like that is super important. But at the same time, what I was, this long-winded point I was trying to make is basically nowadays, we're still so primed for long-form content like podcasts, like, people listen to podcasts for 3 hours all the time, or like, hardcore history, like listening to 20 episodes about Genghis Khan, people do this now, and it's like we have both ends of the spectrum. People are primed for this very short, like, rapid fire processing of information to not be bored. And then also, more than ever, we get to immerse ourselves in stories and like getting to know people. Like you're saying, people who watch your podcast and then get to know you through that method, and they form a connection. Whereas, before they'd have to do that in person. So it's like this unique opportunity we have today on both ends of the spectrum. That's, kind of interesting to think about.
Oh, thank you. That's really cool, because this is the very first time I'm hearing that people have become smarter or higher IQs. I thought it was the opposite. Speaking of which, it's very, I tried, I like to watch super old movies with less cuts because, I like this difference, and I like, of course, I also fall for like the very like, short-cutted videos that have a lot of variety in shortcuts. But I also enjoy, like the camera on a long conversation just for 10 minutes, and then before the scenery changes and stuff. So, but I do it intentionally because I don't want to be, I try to minimize my dopamine release because I want to, I kind of want to stay motivated, and that requires that you don't lose dopamine all the time, all day long, and you don't get dopamine overdoses. And a lot of these fast cuts are for dopamine release.
Interesting.
And the downside of that is, you learn to process a lot of information. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you're getting addicted to that. And then you lose motivation to focus on anything like that's more boring. And you have to, so I'm trying to manage that as well. So, but if you advertise, then you just shoot for the dopamine, of course.
Yeah.
And so one aspect of, so please.
Oh no, please. I'm sorry. One aspect. Yeah. The dopamine.
So one aspect of this pattern interrupt is you want someone to have a dopamine spike. They have to look at your ad, and within the first 3 seconds, ideally, they release dopamine.
that's super interesting. I've never thought about it in, physiological terms, but that must be what's happening. That's super interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I would be very curious, where do you, like, if you want to educate yourself or you want to keep yourself up to date, what's about new stuff in the advertising industry? What is it that you do to, get your education and your information from?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, there's so much information now that it's really hard to make sense of someone telling you one thing or the other thing. I would say two places. First of all, going back in time. So there's really, we're humans, and, like we're saying, things have changed, visual processing, et cetera, et cetera. But fundamentally, we're still humans with emotions and needs and everything else. So, understanding, behavioral psychology, things like that. Reading books about that, reading books um, about also advertising in the era where, people are just figuring out that, you could track some of these things on a broad scale. So, my business partner, Brad, he goes down these knowledge rabbit holes, and I get to like cherry pick the stuff that, that he finds, which is super cool for me. And so there's one book called Truth in Advertising, which is extremely good. And, basically a lot of what has been released, subsequently to that is that even the right word? After that book was made, a lot of stuff is rehashed from that. So I definitely would look at that. And then also seeing what other people are doing. We were talking to Peter Kell, who's a big video sales leader, documentary.
Oh yeah. I had him on the podcast
you
too.
Did.
I know the guy.
He's a genius, right? He's amazing. And, so, he talks about the spy tools are where he gets like a lot of his research is just going and looking and seeing what other people are running, because they're putting the money out there to do all this testing. And then he's getting to sort of see, what's working up to some extent, what's not working. So, and then breaking those down, like looking, like we talked about earlier, getting really, just breaking down into elements and seeing what's happening for yourself. And you start to internalize, so I think some lessons that become intuition. And that doesn't mean that, all your ads are going to be winners, but it's a different way of understanding what's going on. It's like, if you've heard about hand copying, how people will like hand copy, sales letters and things like that. Like I used to work at Golden Hippo Media, which is it's a big, direct response conglomerate these days, but, they would have us hand copy the Gary Halbert letter. So this is like the famous direct response legend, Gary Halbert. He wrote all these letters all about direct response. He has this specific, very conversational way of writing. It seems like he's there with you, just having a chat over a beer. And so internalizing these things is super important. So going back to the classics, whether that's way back, understanding like Claude Hopkins is, if you remember the scientific advertising guy, this sort of Ogilvy era measured branding type of space, 1960s, super interesting. So truth in advertising, and then just, looking at what people are doing now, but looking at it with your own eyes, seeing, what's going on there, and then testing it yourself. So I'd say those are like the four kind of areas, at least off the top of my head, that, are the best places to learn, and just understanding humans. So understanding story, understanding psychology, behavioral psychology. So we're having an event in Oxford University in August this year, our first live event. And so our keynote speaker is a guy named Rory Sutherland, and he's the vice president of Ogilvy in the UK. And he has an amazing book called Alchemy, talking about basically, behavioral economics. And, that's a really interesting thing to look at too. So, I mean, those are those are definitely things to look at. And then honestly, I would say maybe even more important is having conversations like this, where you talk to people, other people who are out there doing stuff, and you just start to hear, you can start to get a sort of spider sense of what's happening, and, ideas kind of cross-pollinate between conversations. And then, so I think that's a lot of where the magic happens. So do conversations, start your own podcast, go to events, talk to people. That's incredibly important too.
Yeah, and listen to this podcast.
Yes, Svencast in particular.
Yeah, Svencast.com. This is a good one. We're talking about stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. Thank you. Thanks for all that wisdom and insight. That's been amazing. As a last question, how can people reach you if they want to work with you, use your service, become more successful with YouTube advertising, or just follow you? How can they do that?
Yeah, so we have like I said before, we have a free YouTube ad library / spy tool, you could say, called VidTao, so VIDTAO.com. And we publish a lot of what we do at our agency. Our agency is called Inceptly, INCEPTLY. And if you go there, you can set up a brainstorming call with us, and we'll just kind of give you ideas and stuff to test on YouTube. It's not a sales call. It's just really a brainstorming call, and take that info, run with it yourself. Just let us know how it goes, honestly. So yeah, those are two good places. We release what we do at Inceptly. We release in emails to our VidTao people. So we have an email newsletter. We share a lot of the stuff that we're doing, what's working, what's not working. And then we're having a live event in Oxford in August 17th. Just go to live.vidtao.com. We're so them there. Peter Kell's going to be there. A bunch of other amazing copywriters, marketers across the spectrum, from direct response to bigger, like VC funded, growth stage software companies, et cetera. It's a really cool mix, and it's going to be fun. We're going to have some fun in the pubs too there, and hopefully have an amazing time and do a lot of knowledge sharing, like open laptop, helping people set up campaigns and stuff. So, but yeah, VidTao is probably the best place, and just if you send us an email there, info@vidtao.com, myself or my co-founder Brad, we'll get back to you. And we love just having conversations with people. It's just fun to communicate.
Awesome, Ian. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sven. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be on your podcast. Honestly, I love what you're doing with Digistore. I've been fortunate to meet some of your team in person, like Tony and Alex, Kyle. And I just really believe in how you support your affiliates. And, I just see you folks making an amazing impact. So super, super happy to be associated, and, keep up the good work. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ian. Looking forward to next time.
Awesome, Sven. Take care.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode of Svencast again.